Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to do the formatting for the final copy of Writing Project 1. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Google and I want to log into my Google account using my Columbus State email. And this was something I mentioned on the draft formatting video, was please make sure you are doing your work and sharing your documents with me in your from your Columbus State email account. Do not share things with me from personal Gmail accounts or any other kind of personal emails. That's the reason why I had everyone set up a Google account with their Columbus State email during the first week of classes. So I'm going to click on my grid and go ahead and click on your drive, and it should take you to your group of folders here. And for this formatting, we should be in the Writing Project 1 final copy folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And as you can see here, there's no document, so we want to go ahead and start our final copy. So I'm going to click New, Google Doc. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to name it. So you're going to name it your first name, just like you did for the draft. And then I want to change the font style to Times New Roman, font size 12. Okay, for the spacing. So for the spacing of this paper, it's going to be double spaced. So I'm going to select, let's see. Well, actually, the contents of the paper should be double spaced, but the header information should not. So for now, I'm just going to select single. And then I need to insert my header. So click Insert, Header and Page Number. Select Page Number. Click on the first one. All right, move your cursor in front of the one. Type your last name with a space. And then I need to select all of that. Come up here and change it to Times New Roman size 12. All right, click out and then hit enter. And now I need my header information. So I'm going to type in my name, enter, space, my name again for the professor, enter, space. This is English 1100, comma, space, Writing Project 1, enter, space, and then the due date of the draft. So let's say this is the due date of the draft. And that is going to be different than the due date or the date that you had on your draft formatting. So, and please make sure to change that. So the date should always reflect either the day the draft is due or the day the final copy is due. Some students will not change that. They'll leave the same date on both, and that is not correct. You don't want to do that because they're not due on the same day. All right. So then I'm going to hit enter, space, and then I need to do my title. So I'm going to hit center align here at the top. Going to use my same title from before. Enter, space, and then I'm going to click back to left align. Please make sure the actual paper is left align. You should not be on right align or justify. All right, now, since we already did a draft of this paper, we need to go back and copy the information from our draft over to our final copy. So that after you've done this right here, then we need to go into our draft folder and copy and paste what we did for our draft over to this final copy. So let's see. Let's go back to my drive. So I'm going to go into my Writing Project 1 draft folder, and I'm going to open up my draft. And then I'm going to put my cursor here. And I'm going to select my writing from my draft. So you want to select all your writing from your draft. Right click, copy. Then I want to go to my final copy. Right click, paste. Oops, okay, it's going to make me hit Control V. All right, let's say Control V. All right, there you go. So, and that is one crucial error that students always make for the final copy. They will go into their draft and edit things and revise things. And basically do their final copy on their draft document and then share that with me again. And that is not correct. So once you have to share a new document with me for your final copy, you cannot add things and whatnot. You can do whatever you want to on your draft copy, but you've got to copy and paste that information into a final copy document. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges for the final copy is students will forget to do that. They'll just do everything on their draft document and then share that with me again. But remember, you should have one document in each of those folders when you're done. So if you don't have a document in your Writing Project 1 final copy folder, then that means you did something wrong. So no, you definitely want to go back. And I don't care if you go into this draft document and get it all ready and revise and fix everything and then move everything over at the very end. That's fine. But you have to select all of everything that's here, all of your draft, whatever's on your draft copy, and then yes, copy it and move it over here to the final copy document. And I mean, you can see up here, I have them both open at the same time. So it's really a preference into how you want to do it. Now, some people might say, okay, I'm going to copy it over, and then they might close out of that draft document, which is fine. You could do that. So here, this would be my final copy. I moved everything over. Okay, let's say I have another paragraph after this. Now you can see that, notice that it did move. It did create another space there. So I'm going to have to fix that right here. Go back up, tab over. Okay, so let's say I have another paragraph. So this would be what, 5? And everyone will be different. I mean, some people might have 5 paragraphs. Some people might have 6 paragraphs, whatever. Let's say this is my conclusion paragraph. All right, so let's say this is my paper. It's done. Now what do I need to do? Well, final copies have to be double spaced. So you don't want to leave it single spaced. That is for the draft. So I'm going to have to double space everything. So I want to select this up here, highlight all of my writing, and then come up to the line spacing tab and go down and hit double space. And now what you notice right away is that there's big gaps here between the paragraphs. So those have to be fixed. So if I put my cursor in front of them and go backwards, it fixes that automatically. There you go. So no one should have a problem with that. But again, please don't leave it like that, because you don't want to have big gaps in between your writing. But everything else looks good. But yes, you will have to go in and manually fix those big gaps. And if I scroll down, most and everyone's will go on to another page, maybe several pages, probably 3 or 4, 5, 6, whatever. So you can see here it automatically populated my last name with the 2. That is correct. So this looks good for the formatting of the final copy. So again, when you get done, you want to come up here to share, type in my email address. Now, since you already did it for the draft, it should automatically populate it on here. I don't see it doing it. Oh, there it goes. And then I want to click over here to can't edit and then hit send. And that will send and share it with me. So very similar process to sharing it with me. But again, you do want to make sure that you share a final copy document with me. Do not share your draft document with me again. All students are required to share a completely separate document with me for their final copy. And again, this should be done in Google Docs. I do not recommend doing it in Word and then moving it over. That can create lots of problems. It's best just to do everything in Google Docs. I've experimented with it during different semesters, and I always find that people who want to do it in Word and then move it over, they forget that when they transfer a Word document to Google, they actually have to save that document as a Google Doc and not a Word document. So some students will wind up sharing a Microsoft Word document with me, and that is not what I'm asking you to do for the drafts or the final copies. You should always be sharing a Google Doc with me, no Microsoft Word documents. Okay, so let's look at what an example of the final copy should look like. Okay, so this was one from a previous semester. So I see here the last name and page number is right. The header is right. There's a space between each of these things. Okay, writing project 1, final copy due date. And then there's a space between the date, due date, and the title. Another small space between the title and the first paragraph. And then if I scroll down, I can see this is double spaced. And notice there are no big gaps between any of the paragraphs here. So where this is the last line of the first paragraph, and then there's a single space between the end of that first paragraph and the first line of the second paragraph. And if I go down the rest of the way, next paragraph, same thing. Into the second paragraph, here's the beginning of the third, and I see a single space. I do not see a big gap. And this is what I do when I check your formatting for the grade on the paper. I look at this stuff. Did this person correctly format the final copy? Yes, this has single spaces between the ends and beginnings of the next paragraphs. And yes, the actual writing itself is double spaced. And again, here with the dialogue, she did format the dialogue correctly. Every time a new person speaks, she started a new paragraph. Please make sure if you do dialogue that you are formatting it correctly. You should not have dialogue inside of paragraphs. And actually, she did a nice job with the dialogue. And some students, they forget about that. They forget that you have to start a new paragraph every time there's a new speaker. And yes, all of her page numbers are right. So this is a great example. I don't see any mistakes here with the formatting. There's no big gaps between the paragraphs. All the header information and the page number stuff is right. There's a title. And that's it. So this looks good. So as far as formatting goes, this person or this paper would not lose any points for the formatting. Everything is correct. And again, up here, she's got it named with her first name. It's not her first and last name. It's not writing project 1, final copy. So please make sure you're doing the formatting correctly. And basically, I think that's it for the final copy formatting. So hopefully this has been helpful. And again, I will do videos like this for the draft of the second paper, the final copy of the second paper, and the draft of the third paper, and so on and so forth. Because for me, I think the videos are helpful to students. It explains things easily so that you do not make errors with the formatting stuff.